You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Black Box After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Black Box After Show.
A little bit of Crazy Train there to get us kicked off. It was totally crazy tonight. I'm so happy you're joining us for ABC's After Show tonight. I'm Mindy Thomas.
And I'm Jade Howard.
Welcome. We've got a lot to break down, amazing insights, and what a quick flowing episode. I mean, talk about cray-cray.
It was cray-cray.
Episode number 8, and you have a free will, and so did the dude tonight, Danny Boy. We're going to be getting into that. Boy, that was some serious shooter on the loose. But before we get into that intensity, the
killer on the loose.
Woo! That was, whoa, I'm coming down off of that. All right, so Catherine, woo! Woo, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited you lost your headphones.
The Crazy Train's coming after me right here in the studio.
It's coming to get you. The box is coming after you, Mindy.
All right, so Catherine.
we got okay, here we go. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't look at you for 45 minutes with your hair like that. I lost my mind.
Catherine wakes up like
Yes.
I'm doing right now, and I tell you what, she is fantasizing. It looks like in the show open, she's reflecting back on last week's episode between her relationship with Dr. Bickman and herself.
Exactly. He offered her, he said, do you want to go get a drink with me in the last episode? And we did not know this, but apparently she said, or maybe she said, yes.
And it wasn't quite clear because she
No.
was at Will's apartment, and yet she was thinking about someone besides him.
Yeah.
Ian,
And it was
matter
like
of fact.
yeah, Dr. Bickman.
Bick.
But Teresa's
We've got
not
a few
here.
names for him.
Teresa's not here to say Bickman. She's at VideoCon right now in Anaheim. We miss you. Anyways, so yeah, she's like in the bed. She's having this really intense fantasy, and it like flashes to her being by herself first. So she's just like groping herself almost. And then it's like to her and Bickman in the bed together.
We weren't quite clear as to what was going on.
I wasn't clear either.
But you believe, is it true that you believe that they
I
were
do
in fact
believe-
involved? It wasn't just simply that she was hoping for that interaction.
It seemed like it was more of a lust thing, and my prediction from last week refused to allow me to even think that she would even take it that far so soon like that with him. But we'll stay tuned for that one because we're going to let you know. We'll go a little deeper into that a little later on into the show. We'll tease you with that and let you know our opinions and what actually happened. But definitely showed her feelings about Will, because you're engaged to Will and you're fantasizing about your colleague.
She is wearing someone else's ring. Now, this can be typical when someone gets cold feet. They might have different fears arise, and I'm sounding like a psychiatrist, supposedly.
Well, you've been watching Black Box for long enough.
Right.
You have the credentials now to psychoanalyze anybody and anything, especially the show if you want to.
Well, after watching Vanessa Redgrave's performance, I feel like I can diagnose someone and sit down with them.
If Vanessa can, why can't Mindy?
She makes the performance just so believable, and it just draws you right into the room with her, which there was some cray-cray thing going on in her office as well. We're going to get into that. But in terms of the love triangle, where are we at right now in this episode with Will? Catherine is seeming totally disinterested in Will because he comes in confessing, hey, Delilah was at the restaurant last night. She totally staged a break-in, and then she was wearing practically nothing. And I was surprised at Catherine's response. Not emotional, not upset.
She didn't care. She didn't care that another woman is after her fiance. I know if like my fiance told me that, I would just be, I'd be livid and like losing my mind and like screaming at him or something. And she was just so cool, calm, and collected. Mind you, he was trying to call her. So he wasn't even going to go to her place to check on her. She just wasn't answering all night long, and he was worried.
Yeah,
he came there because he was concerned for her well-being. He was scared for her. And then she's there, and he's like, I've been trying to reach you. And she says, oh, I must have left my phone at the office. That's my Dr. Black impersonation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was the cell phone. When the cell phone is off and nobody's looking for a call or a text, there's some emotional detachment happening. I feel like that
and it even shows how how they really feel about each other, because she didn't even think, let me check my phone, let me see if he was calling me. None of that. She just was just like, oh, I must have left my phone at work. But after he confesses everything about him and Delilah, her phone falls out of her coat pocket. And she's, oh, it must have been in my coat pocket this whole time.
And she makes her way to the cube, and as she's walking down the hall, she sees who else but Big flirting with a woman in the hallway doing his usual...
Have you been to, what was the country?
Some banter that's quite...
Bali. Have you been to Bali? Like,
quite impressive. We've all been there.
Right, yeah. You've been there?
No.
I was going to say, check you out.
I'm starting to talk like Bigman.
I know, and I'm going to talk like Dr. Black. No, but it's crazy because he's just flirting with her, and the way she walks down the hallway, it was almost like, who are you talking to?
Yes, she's starting to
seem territorial,
to come into her own emotions that she was hiding, that Teresa had pointed out that she was actually hiding those feelings. They're surfacing. She's starting to understand what's really going on more on the inside.
Teresa's right, and Teresa's at VideoCon. I was wrong. She was right. Her prediction so far is so proving to be right.
That's right. And Dr. Black questions Ian about their relationship, sort of cornering him in the office, saying, let's talk about this. And he's like, okay. What did you think about that exchange between them?
I mean, it's almost one of those things where it's, hey, Dr. Black, I don't know if you remember or not, but there's an engagement ring on your finger. Why are you asking this man about clarifying your relationship? Like, it didn't mean anything. It was nothing. And he's just thinking, okay, that's fine. And you don't know if he's okay with, almost as if he won her over or got her to care, or if he's pretending not to care.
Exactly. Is he the real deal, or is this some kind of addiction or adrenaline rush? Yeah.
I still think it's
a quick fix.
I think it's a bit of a quick fix still. I'm still not convinced.
Well, it's a quick fix because of the escapism sort of involved with both of them.
Yeah, but it's also crazy because, like we said earlier, we weren't sure if she was fantasizing the fantasy or if it was actually happening. It actually happened. And the way she confronted him in the office shows that it happened.
Okay, because again, I was thinking at that time that okay, here's just another fantasy, that her real feelings are coming out, and she's hoping that this would happen, but
I think the conversation happened. The kiss was fake. It was almost like she started to fantasize. She started fantasizing about kissing him.
But then she did go up to him. No, she did not.
She did not. She didn't kiss him. She was just sitting there. But that's when they cut to them still standing on opposite sides, and he's like, hello. It was dead air between them, but she was really having this fantasy that she went up to him and kissed him, and it was so passionate, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, because when he responded to her question about talking about the relationship, he says, I love surprises. Life is so boring without them.
That was I'm glad you wrote that down. Mindy, you're always good with writing down those quotes.
Well, there's some incredible writing.
Yes.
And a lot of the lines come from him. I just love the directness and sort of how he delivers those as well.
Yes.
Now, Kate talks to her brother about feeling trapped by the thought of marriage. And she's trying to kind of pan out her feelings. Of course, he is going to do the brother thing and say, okay, you have got to stay the course with Will. He's a good guy. is she taking Will for granted? Is she taking advantage of the fact that Will now knows she is bipolar? So she's thinking, everybody will accept me now.
She could say, I was just not on my meds, sorry. No, you can't use that as an excuse all the time when that's not really what actually happened.
That's already ran out. Pocket is empty.
Yeah.
You can't use that one again.
There's a hole in the pocket. The change done ran out. You can't resort to that anymore.
Does she have anything left to resort to?
I don't think, Dr. Bickman.
Okay, but Will has proven, hey, I really love you. I put a ring on your finger. I've invited you over even to meet my mother, despite how
I know.
awkward that was in the last episode.
Oh, that would talk about awkward family dinner.
Is she still reeling from that? Is that what this is all about?
I think it became too real, and I think now she's coming to terms with the realness of this engagement, and that when you're engaged to somebody, that means that you're going to marry them. When you marry someone, it's with the intention to spend the rest of your life with them. And I don't think she's ready for that.
Is monogamy still, is commitment a part of the modern day marriage? I'm getting a little lost here.
Oh, I mean, it makes you question a lot of things just in the way in which our society is, the direction that we're going in when it comes to these type of commitments, because it's a little bit of real life. I know people who are engaged and they're getting married and they start having like cold feet, but it's not normal cold feet. It's like a hesitation, this fear of commitment. Well, before people would be excited and look forward to something like that.
Are they spinning out into other relationships?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not telling on any friends.
Okay, so this has more to do.
I want to have friends after this.
with a heart issue. It doesn't really have
Right.
to do with the fact that there's bipolar and that she's on medication.
That's such a good point that you bring up, because it definitely shows that it's not about the disorder. I think you thought at first that it was about the disorder, and that's what caused her to not be faithful, because she says, when I'm not on my meds, I do really bad things. Like what? Oh, like cheat on you. But now she's not on her meds. She's on her meds. We've seen her be so mentally sound and
heroic. And
Exactly.
as a neuroscientist, I mean, she's famous and well-known as a neuroscientist. I mean, she can hold her own.
and highly respected. I mean,
Highly respected.
so what's her deal?
And that's where it goes back into sort of the flawed hero.
Do you think that it's almost maybe the medicine is making her, like she always says she doesn't feel like herself. So maybe she's coming to like these terms that she isn't herself,
Maybe.
and that she isn't a woman of commitment.
Could she be on the wrong medication?
She could, I think maybe the medicine is making her.
I mean, she functions pretty amazingly, staying up all night by someone's side, and we'll get into that. Yeah, Delilah tells Will, I was really surprised at how forward she was. She's coming right at Will, and she's telling him, hey, Catherine does not have any interest in you. I see it, and I know you see it. And I was like, do people really talk to people like that when they're trying to break up an engagement?
And then she even admitted, and maybe the way you don't see it is the way I don't see it about you not wanting me.
Okay.
And that's another love triangle. Like, what if is that like a star? If you put the shapes and overlap, are we like dealing with like a love star? It's not even a triangle anymore.
Let me tell you, Will is nobody's fool. And he called her out on that manipulation. He said, I know exactly what you're doing here. But yet I think he was still influenced by the subtleties.
But he was. But did you see the way he picked her up and turned her around like in a 180? He's like, because she was in his way. So he picks her up. I'm like, how tiny is she to just be
because
picked up like that? And he just rotates her and then just sits her down.
Let's remember why he's not getting her out of the picture. Because if he fires her, then there could be some kind of weird lawsuit, and he's a chef aspiring to accomplish his dreams, and those could go up in smoke.
Yeah,
so.
she can totally. She has the. Delilah has the power to destroy everything that Will has worked so hard for. So he has to walk on eggshells for her.
And Will talks to Catherine, but, again, she doesn't show any interest. But he, lo and behold, later finds something in her possessions. He finds a pen with a certain hotel name on it. And we all know who lives at that hotel, but he has not found that out yet.
No, he doesn't know, but he's on to Will is on to something. Will is not, you're right. I think Delilah put something in his head that definitely opened up his eyes. And I think that he needed that reality check, even if it is from the woman that shows up, as we saw in the previous episode, to your restaurant half naked and literally just underwear and a bra, and just sits on the counter in which you're preparing food, but that's a whole nother. And he's just like, wait a minute, she's onto something. She knows something. She got into his head.
Right.
And that's what she wants. She wants to get into his head.
So he gets on the bunny trail and starts a hopping, and he finds some things himself that totally do support her point of view. All right, let's jump into Gordon. He's a case study that's just been fired from the bank. Dr. Black is called into the cube to look at this video, and there was some sort of hand movement, and the man, Gordon, has severe epilepsy. The left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. It's called alien hand syndrome.
Yeah, that was such an interesting. It causes him to do things that he can't control because he had brain surgery, and so it was a side effect from the surgery. The surgery was successful, but a very rare side effect, in which, of course, he makes his hands do things that he can't control. So he's at work, just a daily day, just doing his business as a bank teller, and he's just pocketing money from the bank. And it's so obvious.
Now, sometimes I may not want my right hand to know what my left hand is doing when it comes to money, but this
hand really didn't know what was going on.
But I don't want somebody else controlling my money like that, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Someone's just like, this is like giving this man hundreds, and he's just ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah, so he was lucky he didn't go to prison, but then they knew he had a medical condition.
Right, so they let him, so he lost his job, and his fiance basically throws this ultimatum of, we're not getting married in 4 weeks as we have planned to do if we can't get this under control. So
a different medication is needed?
Right, they ended up doing Botox on his arm, and it pretty much healed. It was a really quick case study. It was one of those things where usually I feel that there's always two people that they have a case study on, and they go so much more deeper into it. But maybe because there was so much more going on in this episode, they really couldn't touch on him. So we only really got just a little bit of it. It was quick. It wasn't as exciting of a storyline to me either, so it was okay that it was.
Well, another quick storyline was also Dr. Lena, because she was exposed to...
Dun, dun, dun.
Leo had walked in, one of the interns walks in, and he finds her with her toothbrush in her mouth, and the doors were open, her bed.
Right, and we saw her hidden lair before, but I thought that's just where she took her nap. But it was a pretty high-tech room. How did she sneak that in there? Like the doors, they have a sound when they open. When I open the doors in my house, you might hear like a creak or something.
I think the cube has some serious WD-40, and so they're all good
right,
to go.
Because the doors are like, it's like you're watching Batman. I felt like I was watching Batman, the way like the doors open, it's like,
oh, yeah.
Did you notice that when the doors open?
Hydraulics?
Yes,
there you go.
That's what it was like. Those doors had some serious hydraulics,
and Leo calls it like it is. He says, "You're agoraphobic."
And
so he does have some memory coming back.
Exactly, he does. You know what? I didn't pick up on that, but that's so true.
Maybe it's not hyper memory, but maybe he'll be a little bit more
on top of it,
on the norm, instead of the exceptional, which is again another storyline that's kind of weaved throughout some of these episodes.
But before we go into Leo, because I feel like that's where we're about to go, I just want to say that she tells him, "Don't you tell anybody that I have that fear," which brings me, okay, really random, kind of random, but not too random, but also brings me back to when that guy, this plumber guy who was trying to court her and just really liked her and she really liked him, and she wouldn't go on the date with him. Remember, he brought her a cronut.
Yes.
He brought her he had to bring her the cronut, and he's like, let's go get a cronut. Let's go on a date. Yeah. And she would not go, and she stood him up.
Okay,
and now we know why.
Because she doesn't leave the cube.
She lives
and breathes and exists and
in the cube.
Does everything. She shaves her legs,
brushes her teeth.
That's what I'm talking about.
Has overnight company.
All right, so let's go back to the gruesome show opening. This is a very difficult subject matter to approach, but the truth is, this dude had a tumor that was causing him extreme rage. And he does something really horrible, and then he begins to journal about it in the living room.
He's hearing voices, and
it's getting all wrong.
It was so intense because the show literally opens with this. He comes into the house, and his mom comes home, and all you see is just blood splatter on the door. I know, but it shows you. Whoa! Did he just? it made you think, what is going on with this guy to start murdering people?
Well, later on, it's revealed that he, in fact, was sick for a period of 6 to 8 weeks between Christmas and February. Now, that's why it's so important to know what steps to take and what experts to see and how your loved ones should care about you appropriately.
Exactly,
Because,
I totally agree.
you know, and when someone has anger that's extreme, and they are just not acting themselves, don't ignore it. You've got to get 911, you've got to get some medical professionals involved. And that's what I love about this show, is it totally just takes the stigma of mental illness and says, you know, we're going to blow this out of the water, and it's going to be no more. You've got to go in there and address injuries in the brain, you know, emotions that are out
Agreed.
of whack and that type of thing. So this is just quite disturbing, just on every level. And then he writes down, it is after much thought that he decided, you know, to take his mother's life. I mean, we're talking wicked to the core. And that's why this episode is called Free Will, because even one of the people at the Cube comes up to Dr. Black, and he's like, I'm not gonna, you know, but that's after everything evolves.
Right, exactly. But that even just shows you what happens is that he goes on a shooting rampage, and they end up actually having to operate on him, which is the irony of it all. And the nurse, who's like, they're taking their time, and Dr. Black is like, hey, can we get this going a little faster? And he said, hey.
One of the victims is none other than Dr. Bickman.
I know, it's so crazy, because you thought it was going to be Leo and, oh gosh, her name is blanking on me.
Right, the other intern.
The other
And
intern.
They're looking out for their grades. They're wanting to get the high honors.
They're at
and
the
everything.
food truck outside just chilling, and here comes the sniper up on the rooftop just aiming, deciding who's going to be his next victim. And they're sitting down eating, finally back inside of the Cube, and you hear gunshots go off, and you're thinking, so who is the victim? It's Bickman. That kind of rhymed a little bit.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You saw what I did there?
Well, and even before this, you know, Leo shows up at the psychiatrist's office. Dr. Black, psychiatrist, he shows up without an appointment to a psychiatrist.
Oh my gosh, we're totally
who's
skipping
on
a
the
major
cover
point.
of a magazine, and he says, I saw you on the cover of one of my mother's magazines, and that's why I came in to see you. And then he totally corners her in her office, and she is requesting for him to leave. He jerks the phone out, throws it all over the office.
He just goes into a rage.
He's going ballistic.
He wants to talk to her, and she's like, your side effects. He says, I'm having nausea, I'm having headaches. And she says, these are all side effects in which you need to see a doctor. And he says, no, I've had like a bottle of ibuprofen. It's not working for me. There's something else that's wrong with me, and I want to talk to you. And she says, you should go to the Cube.
And he says, sit down.
Oh,
Ooh.
I insist.
I mean, that was like, you don't tell my sweetheart there.
But I know, right? And
I
I'm
love that
wondering,
woman.
where's her receptionist or assistant? There was no buffer to keep the. Usually you see someone say, no, sir, don't go in there. Who was it? Like, where's her assistant? Somebody should have been there to buffer. As a psychiatrist, I would think that you would want somebody like manning your front desk, not necessarily a security guard, but somebody that's there to just.
I think he worked his way into the system. He was being pretty crafty there. And fortunately, she knew exactly how to keep herself calm, cool, and collected.
Yes.
In his mind, she morphed into his mother, which we didn't know if that was a good thing or a
that's a
bad
good point,
thing.
yes.
And then she's able to say, Danny, sweetheart, or whatever she says, precious, you know.
Don't kill me.
You know,
Don't do anything crazy. And so then
you don't need to hurt anybody else, and so it was like the perfect thing. And then he kind of wigged out and ran out the door.
And then he goes to the Cube, and you know, she calls Dr. Black to give her a heads up. Hey, so this guy who I think was about to kill me is now on his way to you. Consider yourself warned. Good luck.
Yeah. So that was how
Don't ever do that. If someone comes after you, don't give them my name or address. Please don't tell them to come to me. Don't do that.
Dr. Black was already sending out the America's Most Wanted.
I know. That was so crazy how quick the word spread. I'm glad that they were able to stay on top of it. But yeah, he
totally goes to the Cube on the roof, tried to take out 3 people. Bickman is scathed in the neck. We don't know the severity of his injury until Dr. Black comes into his hospital room and begins to analyze his situation.
But I love how she was freaking out about it when she found out it was him, and everyone's like, "We've got it under control." Like, don't worry. And then when the nurse was going slow, which we were trying to get at, was the nurse was going really slow. And she says, speed up while you pull his gurney so we can get him to figure out what's going on. He said, he just shot Dr. Bickman and is a killer. Why would I help him? And she just checked him. Like, we have to treat everybody like patients. And that's one thing that's so interesting and amazing to me in the world of medicine, is that nobody, doesn't matter what you did, a sick person or ailing person or a hurt person, that's what they are. And our job is to fix them and cure them, let them pay for what they did afterwards, but we still treat them like we would anybody else.
Well, she laid into him, and she just set the record straight. She said, basically, not on my watch. We're going to be completely objective. There's going to be a non-judgmental attitude here. And that was total professionalism within that scope. But, you know, they go into the operating room, and in terms of professionalism, Dr. Bickman shows up, okay, in the operating room to take the tumor out of the sniper's head and the sniper that just shot him. So there was a lot of high emotion there.
It was a lot of, like, medical ethical, like, problems there. Like, that's allowed. So you shot someone, and that person you shot is a surgeon, so they can operate on you. Gotta love the world of TV.
Yeah.
The wonderful world of television. Anything is possible.
Cha-ching for good drama.
Exactly, yeah. It did bring the drama. It definitely did. And who comes to help him?
Well, Leo had already been nixed earlier because he wasn't pulling in the grades. He no longer has the hypermemory. So Dr. Bickman was like, hey, you're out of here. You don't have honors. But then he's still hanging out. Dr. Bickman doesn't have an assistant. Leo's in there. He steps up, says, hey, I'll be your assistant. And he didn't have any other choices really at that point. So they work together, and then Bickman starts feeling pretty weak on his feet.
I wonder why. Oh, because you just got shot in the neck and could have died?
And I think it was just to kind of pull out Dr. Black's emotions so we could really see how much she's truly caring for him.
Oh, and they definitely showed it. She definitely likes Bickman.
She does. And then she also is standing by when Leo has to, the tumor's taken out of the sniper Danny's head, but then there's the nerve, some type of nerve starts sort of erupting blood.
And Leo has to come to the rescue, and he does a great job. And I think he really redeems himself in showing that he is very much capable and worthy of becoming a neurosurgeon if that's what he wants.
He stepped up with some other qualities that perhaps he didn't possess as much before having gone through his own surgery.
Like, I don't know, a slice of humble pie? Because he was so cocky, because he had this great memory where he could remember everything and he never had to study. It all came naturally, and then he really was humbled after all of these experiences, which I think sometimes you have to go through these things to really appreciate the gifts that you have.
Pride comes before a fall.
And they said a year. He has a year for it to come back. So they didn't say, like Dr. Bickman, when he sat him down before all of this happened, he said, okay, well, in about a year, you'll be back to normal. But until then, I think you should look into something else.
Before his surgery, he was kind of irritating and unappealing.
Oh, I didn't like his character at all.
I didn't really think about it at the time, but now he seems like just more sort of manly, and you're seeing more character qualities
and
coming
responsible. And you know, he was so arrogant. I mean, he was a little Bickman in the making. He was, you know. Then he got humbled, and then he said, "Oh, you know what? Let me approach this a lot differently than the way in which I was before."
And that's an interesting sort of story about how when you almost lose something, and how you can then you want it back, and when you do get it back, you have sort of the right attitude with it.
And I think that's what he needed, and I think that's what it showed, and I think it was so successful in doing that, because he's trying to help Bickman out, and Bickman's like, I don't need you helping me with after the surgery, and he's bandaging him up, and because he was still bleeding a little bit on his neck.
I'm not going to let an intern treat me like a doctor.
Well, that intern just saved your AFTERBUZZ. So I think you need to be a little thankful, because you almost killed a patient because you were being cocky and insistent on performing the surgery on somebody that after you just got shot.
I loved it. Oh yeah, he is. you know, later on talking about how he just had to take 2 Percocet and he was okay.
I'm thinking, really? Because I know if I
Amazing.
just got grazed in the neck, I'd be laying in that hospital for a couple days. You'd have to pull me out of there because I don't know if I'd be ready just quite yet.
Yeah, but Leo totally got the kudos from him after all.
He did, and he felt so sure about it. And at the end, he says, "This is where I belong. I belong at the Cube," which, okay, tangent time. So, because I go on those sometimes. Have you noticed nobody wants to leave the Cube?
Yeah, it's kind of magnetic. Well, you've got all these intellectuals and all this energy, and really, when you're flying people in, like in the last episode from Syria, they're one of the best medical facilities in the world.
I get that, but nobody wants to lead their life. Bigman wants to only live in a hotel. The only place he feels he lives at is the Cube. Dr. Lena literally has a lair in the Cube. Leo says, I don't want to leave either. I never want to leave. Dr. Black, when Will says, she talks to Will and says, I had a really rough day. There was a shooting. Let me come be there with you. No, I'm going to sleep in the Cube. That's my Dr. Black.
That was a
voice again.
totally unnatural response to your fiance.
Right? I'd say, please come get me.
I mean, it's like,
can
honey,
we go get ice cream?
you know, yeah.
Cheer me up. I had a
That's
rough
right.
day at the office.
You're going to get your favorite Starbucks or whatever,
Right.
Total foot massage, whatever, that pampers you at that point.
And that's what he
just-
wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And she turned it down, and she wanted to do what? She slept at the Cube. Nobody wants to leave the Cube.
You're thinking something's in the water.
What? I love it here at the studios here at AfterBuzz, but I want to go home. You know, like nobody wants to leave. I don't get that. I mean,
Okay.
I get it because they're so passionate about what they do.
Well, that's the whole thing. Do you work to live? We've talked about this in a previous episode. Do you work to live or live to work? And there's 2 different philosophies floating around. I think most of us probably come in and out of each one of those if you're really passionate about what you do.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to see the world of doctors. They think very differently because of their commitment level. They're going to be on call, their lives. How can you really build a personal life? And if you're a doctor watching, I want to totally hear from you as well.
Yeah, and speaking of doctors, hearing from doctors, anyone that downloads us on iTunes, you can go to itunes.com/AfterBuzz TV and search for Black Box. And you can also watch our videos on YouTube.com/AfterBuzz TV. And you can search for Black Box as well. And comment and let us know what you think. Like, do you live to work or work to live? Which would you prefer?
Yeah, that's a great thing to
And give us
explore.
a thumbs up, comment, and if you're on iTunes, give us 4 or 5 star rating. We love 5 over 4. 5 is better. And definitely comment any other questions that you have for us too, and be sure to give us a thumbs up in the like section.
And we're going to give you our Twitter addresses at the end of the show, so stick around for that because we want to hear your tweets. And we want to hear from you about how you feel about the overall season, because we are over the hump in a sense. We're more than halfway through the season. And
Way more. I think we have about 5 more episodes left.
Right. And I have some news to give here in a little bit about who we're going to have. One of the stars is coming on the show next week. And I'm going to tell you who coming up in our news segment. So
Yay.
stick around for that. We're really excited. She is totally confirmed one of the main stars of the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
clap, clap, bravo. How
Yeah.
exciting.
So we'll tell you who that is here in just a little bit. All right, so we have got to dive into the love triangle a little bit more.
I agree. Couldn't agree with you more.
What's going on here with Bickman, and what's going on here with Dr. Black? And they're having this relationship at the Cube. It's not really developing outside of the Cube. Is it going to be a work thing?
But I think for them, they live at the Cube. So that's a life thing, really, if you think
I don't
about
think
it.
he'll ever want to go back to that truck again. No, he's not that type. But yeah, if you're just sort of scathed by a bullet.
I don't know how good. It depends on what was at the food truck. Because if it was like the grilled cheese food truck or the koji food truck, you might have to just let it go and
Yeah, that's
face
true.
your fears and go get a good sandwich.
Because remember, that guy's eyesight was healed. And
At the food truck. What is at this food truck? You've got shootings, you've got miracles. I need to know what the name of that food truck is.
Yeah, if you're in New York City, how often do you go to a food truck? Those are somewhat popular here in LA, but I think
I love food trucks out here in LA. I was going to food truck. I grew up in LA, and a food truck to me was totally normal. I never thought anything was wrong with going to a food truck. And some people would say, ew, do you get food from a truck? Yeah, they're like the best tacos I've ever had in my whole entire life. The best hamburgers, the best everything.
Well, I grew up in Texas, so the best I got was the fruit off the backyard tree. A fresh tomato, if they made it through the vine there. All right, so
Back to
Bickman. Yeah, what is he all about right now?
I think Bickman has feelings for Dr. Black. Even when he was talking to the nurse or whoever it was in the hallway about, have you gone to Bali before?
Is it just the chase? I mean, is he just wanting to break up a meaningful engagement so he can say, I am the bomb?
I think he's catching feelings, but I think he's going to rear back, and that's going more into like predictions, so let me not rush, jump the gun just yet. But it's one of those things where I really feel like it is still a game to him, but maybe a game that like he's really enjoying.
Yeah, now how is he going to respond? We're going to have to totally talk about that here in a little bit, because how is he going to respond if he finds out if she's bipolar? That was a real pressing question on my mind tonight as I was watching the show.
Because it's got to come out. Like, she's going to lose her job, though. She can't
totally
practice.
Going to like detach and say, hey, I can't even be around you because my practice is everything? I don't know that it's going to be the genuine loving response.
Or he's going to keep her secret and help her keep her secret.
Yeah.
And maybe allows him to understand, or if he can help her stay on her meds. Maybe that'll be her motivation, you know?
Right. So overall tonight with the sniper, how did that work for you, Jade?
The sniper, I thought it was a very, very deep, intense storyline, especially because you see that he kills his mother. It's not implied. Like, you see blood splatter and you think that it was so intense. Yeah. And it was when they cut to the other storylines, I actually really wanted to see it pick back up, because I really wanted to know what was going on with him, what was going on in his mind, because there's a reason why he's a featured character on here. It's not just somebody that you could tell that he was a good person or he is a good person. He didn't know, because even at the hospital, when he wakes up from surgery, he says to them, well, I don't know why I'm arrested or why I'm handcuffed to the bed, but can you let my mom know that I'm okay? Yeah. And everyone says, well, I'm not going to tell him. Someone else is going to have to tell him, because I don't think he's ready to know that he did something, that he killed his mom. Oof. Because the last memory that he had was buying her a Blu-ray DVD player.
Dr. Black told me
for Christmas
to educate him, hey, you're going to be going to the prison ward hospital.
Our job here at the Cube is now done.
FYI, you're handcuffed.
Yeah, you're under arrest, sir.
And don't even think about touching Dick, okay? That's what she's really saying.
Yeah, get away from my Bickman. Don't you touch my Bickman.
All right, let's get back into predictions. Are we ready?
Are we? Did we do gossip?
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Jade, what you got for your prediction?
I mean, there's so many. I think that Will is going to find Bickman and he's going to beat him up. Oh, because at the end, when he looks at that pen, he gets a hint and he's onto her. He's not going to tell her that he's onto her, but he's after her for sure.
Is he going to find them in a rendezvous at the hotel?
I think he's going to piece some things together, and I think that's going to make him want to either say, well, then we can do whatever we want. I'm going to continue to play with Delilah and get you really upset and jealous, or I don't see them parting ways. They're not parting ways. It's not possible.
How much of a meaningful relationship can be there, though, when there's all this energy being spent on other people so much of the time?
Well, once they focus their energy back to each other and they're faithful to each other, you see how much they really love and care about each other. So I think that's what the dynamic of the relationship is, and what's going to make that storyline so strong and intriguing is to see them go back and forth. I think that's what makes their relationship what it is the way that they go back and forth with each other.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see what Dr. Lena says, or how it evolves with her.
What do you think is going to happen? How do you think it's going to evolve?
Okay, I think Leo might kind of take her by the hand and say, okay, we need to take you outside.
Fix you.
Yeah, he's going to try to do the man thing and put the fix on it.
Do you think she could be a patient of the week?
A patient of the week. You know, yes, absolutely.
They've had. Leo was a patient of the week. It's not. It's not like. I mean, Bickman was kind of a patient of the week since he got grazed in the neck by a bullet. I mean, I feel that she could be a good patient of the week. I would love to see that story unfold and see them trying to help her and get her an apartment. Okay, this takes place in New York. Imagine all the money she's saving right now on her salary. She's not paying rent.
Yeah, but she's going to have to pay some of that on her mental health.
She can lose her job. It's against the rules. Remember, that's why she told Leo not to say anything because she wouldn't vouch for him, which he needs to move to advance in his residency to possibly become a neurosurgeon. So she blackmailed him.
But really, he knows that her opinion's not really going to matter as much because he just pulled off some amazing feat there in the operating room.
But like, what's going on with the security? Nobody's realized that this woman has never left. She doesn't check out. You have to have a badge for a facility like that to check in and check out. I mean, everywhere has that.
She may have covered up a camera, kind of worked her.
No, she does not leave. Their security is trash. That is like the worst security guards ever. Nobody is checking for her. No one's ever thought, wow, she works such late hours. Oh, and she's here early in the morning. I've never seen her leave.
You think she's maybe working the system some, though?
No. Okay. I think that they need to fire all the security and they need to hire a new staff because there's no reason why nobody should have realized that she has never left the cubes and all that stuff. Okay, so she has like this lair, like her home, which has like those hydraulic doors that go whoosh when you open them. You mean to tell me nobody saw her bring in a painting, a bed, sheets, bedding, toiletries, clothes? She has on different outfits all the time. It's not like you always think, wow.
Oh, you know what? Maybe there's a doctor in there that knows and he kind of covers for her.
So you think she's got she has like a smuggling crew of some sort, like a black box meets black market of like smuggling home goods into your home? I don't get it.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Catherine is going to have a bipolar episode. I can predict that for sure in the upcoming episodes. And then also her daughter, Esme Black, and Reagan, I believe, and the brother, they'll be coming back into the picture in the episodes ahead.
Like a heavier storyline with them, because they've faded out a little bit.
There might be some symptoms even come to play with Esme Black. But I'm going to tell you right now in our news segment, we'll just go ahead and do the news right now. We've got some amazing news tonight. Siobhan Williams will be in studio with us next week.
Great.
I'm so excited. She's totally the star on Black Box that plays Esme Black, Catherine's biological daughter. However, she does not know that she is her biological daughter. And as we know, bipolar is genetic, so she could be bipolar as well. And this could unfold in the episodes ahead. Maybe Siobhan will let us in on
some secrets and some storylines. And if you have any questions that you want us to ask her, also include that in the comment section on YouTube so we can be sure to ask her as well, because we love to hear from you guys. We want to keep this very interactive with everyone. And I know she would love to hear from the fans of the show as well. And we'll be sure to also blast that on our Twitter feeds as well.
It's a great way to connect with her next week. So we want you to stay tuned. And that's going to do it for tonight. I'm Mindy Thomas. You can totally find me at Mindy Charlotte on Twitter. And please give me your tweets this next week. Siobhan Williams coming up next week.
And you can find me at Real Jade's World on Twitter.
God bless you. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.